Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're traveling to Eastern India,
Okay.
to a region brimming with, well, vibrant colors, incredible food,
Right.
and a language at the heart of it all. Angika.
Yeah. And it's a fascinating region,
Yeah.
full of stories
Yeah.
and traditions that are, well, as intricate and beautiful as the art they inspire.
Speaking of art, our sources mentioned something called Manjusha art.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen these incredibly detailed boxes?
Absolutely. They're like miniature temples,
Wow.
crafted from bamboo and paper, often depicting
Yeah.
scenes from Hindu mythology. It's
Mhm.
really something to see.
It makes you wonder, is there a connection between the intricate detail of Manjusha art and the complex fight for recognition that Angika faces?
That's an interesting thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the art itself reflects a determination to preserve their heritage.
Mhm.
And speaking of Angika's fight for recognition,
Yeah.
we should probably explain to our listener what exactly makes this language
Yeah.
so unique and, frankly, a bit controversial.
You're right. Let's get into that.
Mhm.
So Angika is spoken by
Okay,
a sizable community, around 15 million people
right.
across eastern India
Hmm.
and even parts of Nepal.
Right.
It's part of the Indo-Aryan language family,
Okay.
which might ring a bell
Yeah.
because that means it's related to languages like
Mhm.
Hindi and Bengali.
And that's where things get really interesting because while it shares roots with those languages,
Yeah.
Angika has its own
Okay.
distinct character and a history that's fueled a debate. Some classify it as a dialect of Maithili,
Yeah.
another language spoken in the region.
Yeah.
But many Angika speakers strongly disagree with that label.
Yes. Our research showed that this isn't just a linguistic debate.
Right.
It's deeply tied to identity and politics.
Absolutely.
In the early 20th century, when there was a push for
Yeah.
Maithili medium education,
Okay.
Angika speakers pushed back, opting for Hindi instead. Wow, opting for Hindi over Maithili.
Yeah.
That must have been a difficult decision for many.
Yeah.
What drove that choice?
It was a powerful statement about how they saw themselves and their language.
Okay.
And it really highlights the socio-political layers at play.
Right.
You see certain castes align themselves with Maithili,
Mhm.
while others viewed Angika and its close linguistic sibling Bajika as their linguistic home.
Yeah.
Essentially, choosing a language became a way of expressing identity.
Yeah.
Even challenging existing power structures.
That's incredible. So this debate over Angika's status,
Yeah.
it has very real implications.
Right.
Especially when you consider that it's not on India's
Right.
official list of languages, the 8th schedule.
Precisely. Not
Yeah.
being included in the 8th schedule means less government support
Yeah.
for things like language development and education. It can even affect representation in media.
Wow.
It's a significant disadvantage
Yeah.
for Angika speakers.
But there have been some wins, right?
Yeah.
Like didn't Jharkhand grant Angika some level of recognition?
Yes. In 2018,
Okay.
Jharkhand declared Angika as its second state language.
Okay.
That might sound like a major victory,
Yeah.
and in some ways it is.
Yeah.
However, it's a title shared with 15 other languages,
Woo.
including Maithili,
Okay.
which makes it less powerful because it has to share the stage, so to speak.
Right.
Angika speakers are still striving for full recognition,
Yeah.
the kind that truly acknowledges and
Yeah.
celebrates their linguistic heritage.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This tension between progress and preservation.
Mm-hmm.
But even with these challenges,
Yeah.
the culture connected to Angika seems to be thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Our research mentioned festivals,
Right.
music, even a distinct cuisine.
Absolutely.
It feels like Angika is
Yeah.
more than just a language. It's,
Yeah.
it's a way of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this deep dive so compelling. We're not just looking at grammar rules and vocabulary.
Yeah.
We're exploring a vibrant culture
Right.
that's deeply intertwined with its language.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Unga region,
Yeah.
which is more than just a geographical location.
Right.
It represents a shared identity
Yeah.
for Angika speakers.
And what better way to experience a culture
Right.
than through its festivals?
You're absolutely right. Festivals offer a glimpse into the heart of a culture.
Yeah.
And Angika has some truly unique celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
Take Manasa Puja, for example.
Okay.
It's a festival that honors the serpent goddess,
Right.
Manasa.
That's right.
And it's particularly significant in the Anga region.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Especially the connection to the Bihula Vishari folklore. It's such a unique story.
Indeed. And it's not just about the rituals, it's about communities coming together, sharing meals, telling stories, keeping those traditions alive.
Yeah.
You see this sense of community in other festivals too,
Right.
like Kali Puja and Chath Puja, which is huge in Bihar.
Right.
These celebrations help connect people to their roots.
Yeah.
And to each other.
And just like their festivals bring people together.
Yeah.
Their cuisine is all about using local ingredients, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Our research mentioned some interesting dishes that highlight this.
Angika cuisine is a sensory delight.
All right.
They use ingredients like mustard oil, fish, bamboo shoots, things that are readily available in the region.
Yeah.
It gives their dishes a very, very distinct flavor profile.
You mentioned our listener is interested in folk music. This seems like a good time to transition into talking about Angika music. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Certainly. Folk music is such an integral part of Angika culture.
Right.
And it's really exciting to see a surge in interest and efforts to preserve it.
Yeah.
One name you might find interesting is Sharda Sinha.
Okay.
She's a renowned folk singer who's championed Angika music on a national stage.
Wow.
Even incorporating traditional Angika instruments into her more contemporary work.
Right.
Then there's Chaila Bihari, an artist who's been very vocal about the need to provide platforms for Angika folk artists to showcase their talents.
And speaking of platforms, our notes mentioned a festival called Ang Mahotsav.
Right.
It sounds like the perfect venue for celebrating all things Angika.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ang Mahotsav is a fantastic example of how they're keeping these traditions alive.
Right.
It's a celebration of Angika art, music, literature, a real testament to the vibrancy of this culture.
It's inspiring to see a community come together like that. You know, earlier we talked about those beautiful Manjusha art boxes.
Right.
And it made me think about all the other art forms that are closely tied to language and culture.
Right.
What can you tell us about Angika literature?
Angika has a rich tradition of oral storytelling. With folktales, songs and poems passed down through generations.
Right.
And in recent years, there's been a real push to transcribe and preserve these stories in written form, ensuring they're not lost to time.
That's so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Capturing those narratives and ensuring they're shared with future generations. Yeah.
Precisely because these stories aren't just entertainment. They carry within them the history, values, and worldview of the Angika people.
Right.
By preserving their stories, they're preserving a part of themselves.
It makes you realize that language isn't just about communication. Yeah. It's the vessel of a culture soul.
You couldn't have put it better.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a critical juncture in our deep dive. Right. While we've explored the richness of Angika, we also need to acknowledge the challenges it faces in our rapidly changing world.
Right.
It's a conversation about globalization and its impact on languages and cultures, particularly those that aren't as widely spoken.
That's a heavy but important topic.
It is.
What are some of the biggest threats
to a language like Angika in today's world?
It feels like, we're living in a world where bigger often overshadows the smaller, the quieter voices.
Right.
Is that the biggest threat to Angika's survival?
Yeah.
The dominance of more widely spoken languages like Hindi.
That's definitely a major factor. Yeah. In a world that prioritizes efficiency and reach, languages with smaller speaker bases often get sidelined.
Right.
It can be a struggle to secure funding for language preservation programs, or even to convince younger generations to embrace their linguistic heritage when they see more opportunities associated with languages like Hindi or English.
It makes you wonder what can be done to create those opportunities and keep a language like Angika vibrant and relevant for future generations.
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it starts with recognizing the value that linguistic diversity brings to our world.
Yeah.
Each language offers a unique perspective, a different way of seeing and understanding the world around us.
So it's not just about preserving a language. It's about ensuring it continues to evolve and thrive.
Exactly. And that takes a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
Festivals like Ang Mahotsav are a fantastic step, creating spaces for celebration and raising awareness.
Yeah.
We're also seeing the power of technology in language revitalization.
Okay.
Online dictionaries, language learning apps.
Right.
These can be incredibly powerful tools for connecting people with their linguistic roots.
It's almost like technology offers a double-edged sword, right? Because while it can be used to preserve languages like Angika, it can also contribute to their marginalization.
Yeah.
If not used mindfully.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's all about finding ways to leverage the power of technology while also being mindful of the potential risks. Yeah. And perhaps most importantly, it requires a commitment from both communities and policymakers to recognize and support linguistic diversity.
A commitment to keeping those stories, those unique perspectives alive. That feels like a perfect place to end our deep dive.
Yeah.
So as we resurface from the colorful, vibrant world of Angika, what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from this journey?
What I hope our listener takes away from this is a sense of wonder and appreciation for the intricate connection between language, culture, and identity.
Right.
Angika's story reminds us that languages are more than just words. They're living, breathing entities that reflect the hearts and minds of the people who speak them. And when we lose a language, we don't just lose words. We lose entire worlds of knowledge, tradition, and human experience.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And perhaps this deep dive has sparked a curiosity to explore those other worlds.
Absolutely.
Those other languages that make our planet so incredibly diverse.
I think so too.
I know it has for me. So until next time.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions.
Absolutely.
Keep exploring and keep those deep dives going.